This is the maturity model for Microsoft 365 practitioners call. If you haven't joined us before, welcome. If you have, thanks for coming back. We're going to be talking about a practical scenario with Copilot today, and as you can tell, Sharon will be doing the main event. So what we'll be doing before that, which will hopefully go pretty quickly, is we'll just give you a quick overview of what the maturity model actually is and how you can use it in case you're not familiar. We'll do a shout out and picture time so that we can preserve ourselves all in amber for future generations. We'll talk a little bit about how you can contribute, and then we'll let Sharon take it away. So every month we do a call like this. There are months where we don't. We took the time off for the summer, so welcome to the autumn, at least in the Northern Hemisphere. And we will be doing sessions up through, I don't think we're going to do one in December, but we maybe. I haven't looked at the calendar lately, but at least the next couple of months. You can download that recurring calendar invite, which will load into Outlook for you, or you can join us via the meetup that we have running if you use Meetup. Simon, do you want to talk about this slide?
Absolutely, thank you. Yes, so what is this all about? So the maturity model for Microsoft 365, its purpose is to help organizations leverage Microsoft 365 to achieve more maturity in how to do sort of everyday business activities. So we've got competencies around the core aspects of running a business, around how to improve communication, collaboration, management of content, and all of those good things. But its purpose is to help us and yourselves be able to talk with business leaders so that we can find amazing projects which help drive the businesses forward, and be able to describe why it is, how the business would benefit from those, so that the business improves and we get to do cool stuff as well. And we are, a community-run initiative, so providing feedback, helping us share in your sort of experiences using the maturity model is really super important to us as well, so that we get better. We've been running this for now for, is it four years now? So yeah, always looking for fresh input. We've got some practical scenarios, which Sharon is going to talk to us about Copilot today, on how to implement specific capabilities within a business. We've got tools for running the maturity model workshops, and we've got each of these sessions is recorded as well and available via YouTube. And we've got some supporting articles which help sort of explain our thoughts behind and the principles around some of the competencies, and then how to move from level 100 and through the levels, how to elevate those competencies. We've still got a couple of competencies in flight, and we'd love your help. Anyway,
Sorry.
Maturity model, yeah, go for it. Maturity model is split up into 5 areas, and we've from level 100 to level 500, and level 100 being that initial default place where everything's kind of on fire, and we're just all about just keeping the lights on. Moving up to 200 when we're trying to build something which is more documented and planned and controlled and stabled, through up to level 400, which we're then looking at measuring and improving, to level 500 when we reach this nirvana state around those competencies. Go on, you move on to the next slide. Thanks, Sharon. So I've got Camtasia ready, so please, we'd love you to join in and turn your videos on, and we'll switch to together mode and record this fantastic session.
This is where we prove to other people that we actually have a vibrant community, so please do come off camera and look like you're enjoying yourself.
Just switching it to together mode. Will it go? Oh.
This technology stuff is just so confusing, isn't it?
It's applied for everyone, apparently. It's not appearing.
Does Sharon have to do it?
Can you get it, or do I need to do it?
Do we have to stop sharing content?
Oh, maybe. Yeah, let me try.
There,
Or
There we
try
go.
Awesome. We got that.
Look at all those excited,
There
interested
we go.
people.
Excellent. Well, let's do a little wave. Lovely to see you all.
Thanks
Thank
for
you very
joining us,
much.
everybody.
Right, that's all good. You got it. Oh, there's a David down there as well. All right, cool. We could share the screen again.
Okay.
I'll hand back to you, Mark, and then to Sharon.
All right.
So how can you contribute? I will just jump into this so we get moving. These sessions are really intended to be for you as a community. So, we were very interested in any additional thoughts that any of you might have, experience that you have using the maturity model in your job or in your consulting. So if you have a case study, something you can discuss about, how did you use the maturity model in order to solve some problems or move your organization forward? We would love to hear those. The articles that make up the maturity model are all available they're in learn.microsoft.com, and every article on learn.microsoft.com is available for pull requests on GitHub. So if you spot a mistake, if you have some additional ideas, if you want to write a new article, we would love to hear that, and feel free to pursue that independently or talk to one of us. We'd love to just get your feedback. If you have some ideas, there's some people, I don't know if they're on the call, who over the summer gave us some very detailed feedback, and we've been trying to bring that aboard. Of course, we were all doing our summer things, so we didn't get to all of it yet, but we're trying to, incorporate the feedback that we get from the community, and also let people know that this exists. We find that it aids a lot of conversations in our consulting practice. It gives people a way to sort of frame what they need to do and how they need to get there. So again, this call is very much a community-oriented thing. If there's something that you would like to jump in and say or ask a question during Sharon's spiel, I'm sure she can handle that. And please join us in a series of meetings if you have the time and could do it. Next topics are coming up. We are not meeting in December because I think it fell pretty close to the holiday time. So in October, we're talking about what do mature organizations do next. So you've pursued maturity and you've gotten to a pretty high level, and so what do you do next? Where do you go from there? And we're going to talk about that. On November 19th, we're sort of leaving a placeholder because we know Ignite's going to happen in advance of that. So we want to sort of reserve the spot to talk about how the maturity model might be impacted by something. We don't know what. So we will try and firm that up as we move closer to the date. Just to reiterate, thank you for everybody who joins us. We had actually a very big crowd in June, and hopefully you see your names there if you were there. We do meet every third Tuesday of every month, the months that we do meet, and feel free to follow some of those links to either sign up or put it on your calendar, or to investigate some of the other sharing and caring efforts. So finally, we get to the main event, Sharon, where you're going to talk about practical scenario with Copilot. And of course, all of the normal Teams pushing the buttons and raising your hands and all that sort of stuff applies. I think we're all pretty good at that at this point. So Sharon, take it away.
Thank you. And yeah, feel free, guys. I it doesn't matter what you do, but I do actually love seeing your faces while I'm presenting. It is, more enjoyable to have people on a call than just to talk to bubbles with initials. But I also don't want to camera shame anybody or tell anybody they have to be on camera. So if you're uncomfortable with that, that's perfectly fine as well. If you just want to sit and listen, feel free to pop stuff in the chat. If you have questions, raise your hand, put it in chat, come off mute. Feel free to participate. I will be going over information and sharing some information, but participate as whatever makes sense for you. So just a little bit about me. I know I've been on this team for a little while, but in case you don't know who I am, here's some information about me. I have been in tech basically my whole career. So coming up on 30 years, I think next year I will have been getting paid to be in a technology job. And so I consider myself a professional from the day I got paid to start doing tech, and that was just shy of 30 years ago. I've been working with SharePoint since really kind of the day it was born, and I've kind of collected some things along the way, and mostly what this means is that my hobby is really working with technology, and I spend a lot of time with Microsoft. So a lot of people watch TV and movies. I like to watch videos about new stuff and Microsoft things. That's all that means. If you do have any questions or want to follow up with me, there's my information. Shameless plug, I do run a company called Smarter Consulting, and we do modern work, and we are a Microsoft partner. And so as we talk about Copilot today, one of our new offerings is Copilot enablement and governance enablement. So we take this stuff seriously and to heart, and I do it every single day with all of my clients. So, and it's really funny because I was like backtracking, and as I started thinking about what we're going to talk about today, I talk about modern work all the time, and I feel like it's one of those things where I kind of live in the future a little bit, and then I go talk to people, and it's kind of like if you lived in Star Trek world or in Iron Man world, and you started being like, oh, no, there's this cool stuff, and everybody's just like, what in the heck are you talking about, Sharon? We have no idea what this stuff is. So I was like, okay, what the heck is Copilot? And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, how do I even explain this? Like, it's AI, duh. Everybody knows what AI is, and it's an assistant. Everybody knows what an assistant is. Not everybody knows what that means. So I thought I'd kind of put it in a little bit of Hollywood terms for you guys. And Copilot is a little bit like Jarvis, an Iron Man. Only, we're maybe not quite as advanced, but it'll get there. So if you think about, your assistants, which I will not say their name out loud because I don't want them to turn on all at once. But, they're there. They're there for you when you need something. They're there to answer a question. They're there to help you with things. They're there to show you the weather or the time or set a timer or set a reminder, things that a lot of you may already be doing. And I know personally, we've really come to like and depend on our AI assistants that we have already in our personal lives. I don't think a lot of people think about it, but when you think about all of those different devices that you have, everything from your phone or your watch to the things that are sitting on your desk, to the things that are sitting in your kitchen, to the things that are sitting in your living room, depending on who you are and what you have, we have them all over our home, because at the end of the day, like, the more we use them, the more I'm like, oh, wouldn't it be nice to have one in the bathroom so I can be like, hey, I have this weird question, or can you turn the lights on, or can you play the music that I want to play, right? So we put these little things everywhere so that we can talk to them. So I think about this kind of like Jarvis in Iron Man, or maybe like if you talk to the ship on Star Trek, like where they talk to the ship, it's that kind of idea. Only the difference is now it's that same concept, but inside of all your productivity tools and inside all your software tools. So it's just kind of like taking what we're used to and then putting it into our work. So everything always starts, in our personal lives first. That's just the way that it works when we make things. And now that is kind of bleeding over into our work life, which I think is fantastic. So where is Copilot? And this is, everybody's like, oh, well, okay, that's nice. But what does Copilot even do? Well, Copilot's kind of getting everywhere in the Microsoft stack. So we're starting to see it. We've got an M365. So all your office tools are now going to have Copilot. Anything you work on at a productivity level, going to have Copilot. It's in Power Platform. So if you're making a Power Automate, or you're making a Power App, or you're making Power Pages, and you're like, I don't exactly know how to do this. maybe you could ask Copilot to do it. And it's really cool because like I've been working with this since the day it came out, and every single day we see new things. My team works with this on a daily basis. We just finished a very large Power Pages project, which was really fun. And my team's like, I could not have done this without Copilot helping me. Like there were things that Copilot just did for us that made it way easier. GitHub Copilot. If any of you guys are developers or no developers, I have developer friends that use GitHub Copilot, and I have one friend who is, I'm going to say out loud, maybe not a gigantic Microsoft fan. He is learning, and he's learning to love, and he's learning to kind of embrace them, but he does tell me that you can pry GitHub Copilot out of his cold, dead, lifeless hands, which I think is really funny, right? So here I've got a guy who's just like, okay, take it or leave it. I'm starting to learn to like it. No, that one I have to have. So we do have GitHub Copilot, which I'm telling you, if you haven't tried it or used it, go take a look. It's pretty slick. And then we've got Copilot Studio, which is one of my top loves right now. And Copilot Studio essentially allows you to create more Copilots. So if we think of a Copilot kind of like a GPT, depending on what tool you're using and what brand you're using, it's a bot, right? So it's this idea of an assistant that's going to help you do something in a very quick way, and it's going to translate what you need into some sort of computer speak, some sort of programming language, some sort of something on the other side, but you can build your own Copilots to help you with whatever it is that you need to do. So I love Copilot Studio. And if you have Copilot for M365, you automatically have Copilot Studio. And there's a lot of really cool new things that are coming out for it. So definitely take a look at that. Okay, so now we start talking about maturity model stuff. So now we kind of know what Copilot is, but who's even going to use this anyways? Why do we even care? And I want to give you just this little quick jog down memory lane to try to help you come up to speed with why this conversation even matters. So in the past, in the good old times, people used Office applications. They used Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Project, Visio, right? We had all these different applications, but everybody didn't use the same application. We used an application that was specific to what we needed for that particular task. And so if we think about it, I think a lot, because I did a lot of training and I did a lot of support and I did a lot of implementation, and I did a lot of adoption. I would talk to people like finance and they were like, I don't even care about Word. Like, I don't even use Word for anything. Don't put it up to me. But like Excel, I think the #1 class that I've ever taught in my life, like as far as quantity, is Excel for finance groups, because they live in Excel. And some of the things they've done with Excel are spectacular, right? It's crazy just the things that they've been able to accomplish. But if you put Word in front of them, they'd be like, I type a few words and I click enter, and that's about all the skills I've got, right? That's what they know how to do. We think about legal or maybe HR, and they spend their lives in things like Word or maybe PowerPoint, right? They're doing a ton of presentations, they're doing a ton of Word docs. So if you ask a salesperson about PowerPoint, they're going to be like, let me show you how I can create the masterpiece of your dreams in this presentation tool. But if I put Excel in front of certain people, maybe I put Excel in front of HR, and I'm not trying to like call out people here, but I'm just saying, you put Excel in front of an HR person, they might be like, I can fill in the cells, but that's about all I know how to do, right? Because it's just not their primary tool. It's not the one that they live in. So I think about this. I think about when they are then required to do something, there's this gigantic learning curve in tools that they're not familiar with. I say this because as we move forward, we think about Outlook. When Outlook came in, it's like everybody got Outlook, right? Everybody learned how to use Outlook because you have to. Because that's where your email's out. Now, to be fair, some people are better than others, and some people have taken it to a whole new level and learned how to color code everything and put things together. Teams came along and everybody's using Teams, right? People are starting to learn how to use Teams because you have to for chatting and messaging. Different people have learned how to do different things in Teams, and some are more advanced than others, but everybody has to use it at least at a basic level. Then we get to Copilot. And what's really cool about Copilot is at a very basic level, Copilot is one of those tools that is literally going to touch everything. Everything. It's going to go across every Office app. It's going to go across every tool you've got. It's going to go across all your content. It's going to go across all your data. So we have to start thinking the world is changing, right? We're getting to this point where these tools that we're creating are designed for everybody at a basic level. And then it's a matter of how do I integrate that into these other things that I've already been using? But now you have to think about the fact that these new tools are across literally everything that you're using. So I want you to understand, like, this is what's happening. So I kind of took that, and because I've been helping with the maturity model, and because I kind of do this day to day, I really was like thinking about, like, if I was to put this just up against the model, I took the one that was from last month, and I basically went through it and I was like, okay, I like this, but I'm just going to change the context to Copilot. And I went through it, and basically what I really thought about is that at level 100, most organizations are like, what the heck is Copilot and why do I even care? It's just another license I have to pay for, right? I don't know. I don't care. Like, at the end of the day, I don't have enough time to keep my day-to-day stuff running. I'm dealing with what I can deal with. I'm just running around putting fires out. Like, why do I need another tool? And also that seems really expensive. Like, that's literally as much or more than I'm spending on my current licensing. Why in the heck would I spend that on one tool? Just seems outrageous. Like, why would I even do that? At level 200, maybe things are under control a little bit. We know what's going on. We're willing to kind of look at things. So maybe I'm going to try it. We're going to spend a little money, maybe have a few people try it. We have no plan. We're just going to turn it on for a few people and see how it goes. So maybe we turn it on, create a few PowerPoint presentations. Maybe I made some Word docs. I mean, it's all right. Like, saves me a little bit of time, but is it really worth that kind of money? This just really seems like a waste of money. You know, I gave it to a couple of people. They played with it a little bit. They came back and said, well, I mean, it'll help me write some docs, but I ended up having to do work anyways. It'll make a few presentations, but I had to do more work anyways. I really just kind of think it's a waste of money. When you start getting up into the level 300, where people have started to think about, I know what I'm doing, I'm under control, I have sustainable processes, I kind of know what to expect. Okay, we know. I think we understand what Copilot is. We're prepared to be able to budget for it. We're prepared to measure kind of what's going to happen out of it a little bit, maybe not a lot, but a little bit. And we're okay about getting the benefits out of this. We have a basic governance and training plan to roll it out. And ultimately, we see the potential. We're not entirely sure, but we see it, we see the value, and we see this as a good investment. And we think that as we bring it and we learn it, we'll get value out of it, and we'll figure out what that value is as we go. So, I mean, you can see at a level 300 how the thought and the change, the mind change, right? This kind of shift in how we feel about a new product kind of comes. At a level 400, we're very predictable. You know what we're doing. We're measuring success. We're looking at the feedback. We're consistently improving. We know what we're doing. So at a level 400, when I start talking to people about Copilot, they're like, oh, heck yeah. You know, we're already like starting to work in the space. Maybe we've already started to create, maybe store. We're looking at custom Copilots. We're looking at custom prompts. We've already started working with prompts. We're started storing prompts. We're starting to review prompts. We're starting to govern prompts. We've got custom connectors that we think are really valuable that could connect the Copilot back to the content in a way that we hadn't thought of before. We're getting excited because Copilot, we think, could be super valuable and could really bring us a lot of ROI. See how the shift is starting to happen. Not only do I see potential, but like I can already quantify at an ROI level. If I put money into this, I know what I'm going to get back out, and I know how I'm going to measure it. I know what I'm going to look at for it. Like I have a plan and I feel confident about this. I know that it's worth the money. And people who are at a 500, businesses that are at 500, they're already doing all this stuff. They know what they're doing. They know where they're spending. They're leading the pack, and they come in and they say, no, look, We've been doing this since day one. We think it's cool. We see the value. And not only that, but we saw the value. So we've already invested. We're already doing this. We're using these custom copilots that we've built. We're using these prompts. We're using these connectors. And we are doing it as a business differentiator. We're using this technology to make a difference in the industry. We're promoting innovation in our industry. We're promoting innovation in the tool set. Maybe we host things like hackathons or promptathons because we really want to get people excited about this in our organization. We want people to know what the value is. And we know without a shadow of a doubt that having Copilot has generated measurable and significant ROI within our business. I wanted to put this before we get into any of the details. I want to give this overview because I think that the idea of this, you have to connect not only what are we doing, but what is the value that we get for it? Because at the end of the day, and I'm going to tell you this, and I have the microphone, so I can say what I want, but at a level 100 and 200, if somebody starts talking about Copilot, I'm like, I don't think you're ready for this yet. And that's a hard thing to say to people. They're like, wait, what do you mean? I got money. Am I ready? Like, I don't think you're ready. I don't think you're going to embrace it. I don't think you're going to enjoy it. I think you're going to spend all this money. You're going to not be happy. And then we're all going to be talking about why. Instead, how about we talk about where you're at and how to get there so you can be ready? So I think Copilot is this idea of this thing that will help people to understand where they're at and level them up. And if not, no big deal. Bless and release, right? They can go live their best lives. But what I'm looking for is places that are at that 300 or above level because they see the value in Copilot and they're ready to embrace it and they're ready to bring that into their organizations. So I put this together for you guys to look at later. I'm not going to read through like the entire thing, but I will kind of give the highlights. So like I said, Copilot readiness. I do Copilot readiness for a living now. I've done, I do modern work, which basically I do modern work readiness, and I've done that for a year. Although modern work is now just work, right? We're now modern. Almost everybody's doing it. So now we're moving on to Copilot and AI readiness, which is like the next thing in innovation. But if you look at this by competency, just like I said on the last slide, maturity matters. It just doesn't matter a little bit at this point. It matters a lot. Because like if I put Word in a 100, 200 level organization and they kind of use it a little bit, like they're like, cool. It gave us what we needed, minimal viable product, we're happy, move on with life. If I put Copilot in a 100 organization, they're like, why am I spending all this money on this stupid thing that nobody uses anyways, right? It's a different conversation. So I wanted to line this up against the different competencies and let you guys know, like there are kind of some minimal levels in my mind that you probably need to start thinking about being at before you start really getting involved with Copilot. And I put over here some kind of little fun bullet points to kind of highlight what I'm thinking at these levels. So think about business process, automation, things like that. At the end of the day, just because it's automated doesn't mean that it's automated correctly. It also doesn't mean that it's correct stuff, right? So like if you're not doing it right, you're going to mess things up. Automating a bad process will just make your bad process faster. So just cause more problems. For cognitive business, we're driving cognitive services. I put a higher level for this, and here's why. Because at the end of the day, if you slap AI and all your business intelligence stuff, and none of it's right under the hood, and you're like, cool, AI told me all this stuff and told me what to do and predicted everything and forecasted everything and gave me charts and graphs, just because it delivered it to you in a report or a chart doesn't mean it's correct. Yes, I think somebody has their hand up for a question.
Yes, I was thinking, do you think that a company needs to be at the minimum level of each competency to start Copilot? Or can we, for example, have a company that is 200 on collaboration and start the Copilot project?
I think that's absolutely correct. I don't think that any company is the same level in all competencies. I think that you are different levels in different competencies. I just think these are the minimum levels for each competency that I think you will probably need to either be at or approaching to see the value and be ready to roll it out with success. Is that fair?
I think the other important thing there is, and I've seen this in multiple conversations, rolling out Copilot just because it's Copilot is, like any technology, doesn't make any sense. You need to be thinking about what are the actual problems in our organization we're trying to solve? What are we trying to get better at? And then that starts to slot things into which competency are we actually pushing the bar on, trying to raise the bar on. So I do think it can be isolated in a sense to specific competencies, especially when you're piloting, we're going to try and get the tax people to be really good at answering questions that they get about taxes. Well, that's about collaboration. That's about communication, maybe. And I just made that up. But you don't have to be great at everything in order to accomplish that goal well.
Yeah, no, well said. And I think the big reason that I put these is because there's areas where, in my opinion, the risk is lower. So I think, for example, like employee experience, I have a lower minimum level because at the end of the day, employee experience is a little bit more nebulous. It's a little less data driven. It's a little less particular. And so therefore, adding Copilot is going to make people a little happier, maybe if it's used properly, but I don't think your employee experience specifically really needs to be a super high maturity level to allow Copilot into your organization. The risk is really, maybe you're misinterpreting some of your employee satisfaction data. Maybe your surveys aren't great. Maybe I just think at the end of the day, bringing it in, maybe you're not super happy with it, but at the end of the day, I don't think you need a super high level of maturity to be able to bring Copilot in the organization and get some level of value out of it. Whereas for your BI, your data, your customization development, things like that, I think you're going to want a higher level of maturity because the risk of bringing Copilot in and causing problems is higher than if you're not. That's all. So I put these kind of things down here for each of these. And the idea really is just to give you a reference point. And I may not be right. This is all open to interpretation. I just put my thoughts based on what I know of the competencies, what I know of Copilot, what I know of people that I've worked with who have come in at a maturity level. And hopefully that'll help you to understand. And really, if you look at the whole thing holistically, the idea is be ready. Right? Make sure that you're ready or understand at least what level you are at so that when you bring it in, if you're like, I know I'm at a 200 in this level, and I know that Sharon said it's probably better to be at a 300 level, know that there's going to be some risk that you're going to need to understand when you implement Copilot so that you're ready to deal with that particular risk. But it just identifies that for you because you already know what the gap is. So use the maturity model against where you're at, do the workshop. It's out on the website. It's super cool. Fill out the spreadsheet, find out where you're at and know where you're at so that then when you're looking at this, you could be like, oh, okay, I see why you're saying there's a risk there. And it really kind of helps you narrow down. These are the things we need to maybe try to at least have a mitigation plan for before we start our Copilot rollout, adoption, implementation, go live. All right, and then I put these in for every different level. And once again, I'm not going to spend the whole day on these, but I did put each level just to kind of break it out a little further. Yeah, did you have another question?
Yes, because currently I'm doing an assessment for Copilot, and I tried to figure out how can I use the maturity level in order to do some, I will say, recommendation or give the customer some baseline. But I will say that I found it was a little bit difficult before I saw your presentation right now, because what I did was to focus on the risk for the company, because that's how they contact us in order to do the assessment, because yes, there was a risk of overexposure of data, also to prevent every data leak in the input of the, I will say, the Copilot or the generative AI. So now I will say, try to use the mapping that you did in order to see how I can move back to the maturity level. But yes, my question was more regarding, do you think that it's a good idea to approach that based on the risk or based on the maturity level? Because I will say it's, yes, it depends.
I think that's a fantastic question, and good for you for starting with just making an assessment and understanding what those risks are. I think, you know, much like everything, it depends, and it's going to be interpretive based on, you know, what your focus and priorities are. So what problem are you trying to solve first and foremost? But I think that the level gives you an understanding of what level of risk you're coming into. So if you have already done a maturity model assessment and you understand what their current risks are, and maybe you even kind of spend a few minutes to go back and, you know, try to understand what level they are in each competency, I think that will just clarify those risks. So which one? I think both, honestly, use both. But I think when you use both, it helps you to kind of triangulate and be a little more clear about what the risks are for each different area. So for example, as they roll out a communication plan, you'll know what the risks are in that area. As they roll out their customization and development governance plan, you'll know what the risks are in that area. As they roll out their cognitive business plan, you'll know what the risks are in that area. So it just depends on what the scope is that you're trying to cover and what problem you're trying to solve for them. So I would probably say both would be the answer that I would give. So this is taking basically that reference chart and then breaking it out a little bit into each level specifically. And so, you know, it's just kind of like, you know, where they're at. So for example, at 11-100, they don't even know what Copilot is. They're like, oh, I saw a commercial for it, but I mean, it looks kind of cool. I don't even know how I'd use that in my life. It's so funny because I'm going to call him out on here, but my husband and I are like polar opposites when it comes to technology. So I'm like cutting edge, what's new? I don't care if it fails. I want to try it anyways. And my husband sits back and says, let me know in a year when there's literally no bugs and everything works beautifully, and then I might look at it. So he just kind of, and he's in technology. So it cracks me up. Like, he does like the new stuff, don't get me wrong. He takes a look at it, but for day-to-day life, his risk tolerance is definitely much lower than mine is. And he's like, I don't want to use that in my day-to-day life until I know that it's solid. And so what's interesting is when I think about this, like, I think about somebody who maybe hasn't used it yet, maybe who isn't comfortable with it yet. Maybe they, you know, they haven't been trained on it yet. They don't have anything really ready for this kind of thing. Maybe their data isn't ready. And so really the idea at level 100 is, I don't know what's going on, and I don't see why this is a big deal. So the next step would be really to introduce it, educate them, let them know what it is, maybe give them a demo, show them what it's capable of, right? That's level 100 is, I don't know what's going on, and I don't even know why you would use it. So maybe give them a little bit of information on it. Level 200, they're starting to understand it, like I told you. Maybe some people are using it. Maybe they've kind of rolled out a few licenses. Maybe a few people have bought their own licenses because they see the possibility, but the organization's like, we're not putting money out for that. If you want to buy it, you can put it on your own card. We'll let you do some self-pay, but beyond that, we're not worried about it. So there's some inconsistent usage. Maybe a few people have figured it out or watched video. Maybe a few MVPs in the company, they're like, come on, let's use Copilot. But like the rest of the people are like, oh, I don't know about that. They're starting to be like, oh, maybe we need to think about putting some organization around to be able to support it. And they're starting to standardize this and be like, okay, maybe we should look into this. So the next steps really would start to be working with them. If you're at a 200 overall and you're just trying to like get there, maybe it's like, okay, maybe start putting some training programs together, maybe start standardizing some of your use cases, maybe start looking at some of your data, things like that. If you're at a 300 kind of overall, you feel comfortable at a 300 level, like I said, maybe you've got some defined processes. IT and business are already kind of working together on some strategies. They're starting to think about like, okay, how is this going to work? And what do we need to be worried about? What are our major risks? Remember at 300, like we see the potential, but let's start thinking about mitigating our risks so we make sure that if we do use this, we're not shooting ourselves in the foot too early. And so the next steps for this group is really, starting to get more people using it, really defining what's the problem, right? And I think you should do this at any level, but at a 300, I think this is where people start saying, what problem am I trying to solve? And how do I know that I've solved it? So what are the metrics? What are the primary goals? When did I get to done? That kind of thing. And then just continuing to get better around data governance, content management governance, information permissions, things like that, like really starting to get better processes around that. Once you're at a 400, for the most part, most 400 companies that I'm seeing across the board are like, okay, we're going to buy licenses, we're going to push this out. We've already got governance processes in place. We already know what we're doing. Maybe we're not, 100% in the know, but we know that our processes, our policies, our data governance, for the most part, can support laying this over the top. So we feel pretty confident about doing it. And I think at the end of the day, right now, those challenges are more about starting. This is always that, like, balancing innovation and security, right? And so they're thinking, okay, are we going to have to restrict things more than we did before? Are we going to have to change permissions because we want to make sure that this isn't going to expose the wrong information? What are we going to get out of it from an ROI level? How are we going to study that? And they're going to start thinking about, like, those top level things, right? What are we going to automate? How can we make custom solutions? What are we going to integrate it with? Like, they start getting fancy thinking, what's the next steps for this? And how can we implement, like, some advanced metrics and super cool reports to know what's going on, so that when it comes back, we know we can, like, make money off of this if we really start putting our heads together and having some good strategy. And those 500 organizations, which are far and few between, but I do see them. They're using it. They love it. They're building it out. They're very proactive. They're already staying ahead of it. It's few. It's very few. And I'm telling you, I follow probably all of them. Like, at the very beginning, it was like 3 or 4. Now I'm up to like 10 or 12. Really good, solid places that I'm getting really good AI information from. They're really, like, telling a story. They're really like, hey, I've been doing this for a while. Here's the innovative story that's coming out of it. They're starting to think about things like AI ethics and compliance and innovation. Like, well, how is this affecting us, at a people level? How is this affecting us at an organization level? And really, at the end of the day, their goals are, how can I just get more out of this? How can I use this to train other people? How can we be innovative in the industry? How can we use this as a business differentiator? Like, how can we just get more out of this? We're already doing all the right things. How can we be better? How can we get more? So for each of those, that kind of gives you an idea. And if I boil this all down, and I say, well, what do you need for Copilot readiness and adoption to really be successful? I told you, what's the problem you're trying to solve? Look at your current state, right? Where are you now? Not where do you want to be? Not, I want Copilot to be successful. Don't think about those things. Where are you now? And where are you now in each competency? And the ones that you really, really need to think about that are going to probably bring you the most value, that you need to be thoughtful about, are things like information architecture and content governance, because those are the ones that, if you lay Copilot on the top and you're ready, it's going to be fantabulous. If you lay Copilot on the top and you're not ready, it's going to be an absolute utter disaster and a security nightmare. Data organization availability, same answer. Custom scenarios and business needs. This is where I really see this is going to change our lives. Because we think now about, I just remember when forms came out, right? And people were like, oh my God, I can make my own forms. How much money did that save us to not have to hire people to make us forms, right? I know it sounds silly, but, like, at the end of the day, to be able to build your own forms, to build your own surveys, like, crazy, right? Like, this self-serve idea of being able to make your own forms and surveys just saved us so much time and money and effort. And it increased employee experience, employee satisfaction, because people could do their own thing. I think that's going to be the same for Copilot. I really do. When we build out forms, when we start talking about Power Platform, we start talking about Power Apps, we start talking about SharePoint, all those things brought us value for that reason. Custom scenarios, I think, are going to be that thing where it can very quickly bring value, but also you need to know where you're at, because if you have kind of anybody can do anything, you're setting yourself up for a very, very, very large headache very quickly. if you have really good governance around all of your existing low code, no code offerings, dude, Copilot's just going to be one more awesome offering that you're going to have in the stack, and your people are just going to love it. So make sure that you know where you're at. And then the big thing when you do set up your adoption and change management plan, definitely pilot. Don't roll it out to everybody at once, unless you're a 500 level company, in which case you're probably going to do a pilot program because you already know this, because you're 500 level in change management. So do a pilot program. Don't give it to everybody at once. Make sure people find the value, get some success stories, then roll those out to other people. Make sure you work out the bugs too, right? Make sure you understand how it fits within your organization. Have tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of communication and feedback loops in place. Just because you want to make sure that everybody knows what's going on, they feel confident, they feel secure. They're not just like, what the heck? Some executive leader, what the heck is this? Oh my God, everybody's going to be able to see everything. No, 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 no. We got a plan. It's going to be okay. And also set goals, right? Set goals, measure, and review. Be very particular. What problem are we trying to solve? When do we know we solved it? How do we know we solved it? Build a presentation around that and share it with the entire group. Share it with the entire company, because the people are going to be like, oh my God, that's so cool. Think back to forums or SharePoint, right? Hey guys, you know, I needed to be able to track. People were like putting, I need pens on the secretary's desk, right? Or on the admin's desk. I need pens. I need paper. I need Post-its. I need whatever. And she comes back to piles of Post-its on her desk. The day that I created a little form that people could fill out, what do you need, when do you need it by, and where do I bring it? That admin assistant was just like, right? It changed her world. So the idea is, think about what you're trying to solve and then set goals around it and show people, look, this is what we were doing before. This is how we solved the problem. Don't you want to solve your problems this way too? And then everybody will be on the same page. The last couple of minutes, I want to share some resources. Here, guys, look, I'm going to be really honest. In the past, one of my biggest feedbacks to Microsoft was that they really needed to provide training and adoption materials. That was a bit, I mean, years. I'm like, better feedback, better training. Like every time I filled out a form, can you please do this? And then they built the support site and I'm like, yes. And I showed it to everybody I could. And I was like, please, please, please look at this. They have this Copilot readiness and Copilot adoption is ridiculously amazing. If you don't know about it, go to adoption.microsoft.com. First of all, the site's amazing. Carol and her team have just outdone themselves. And then go to the Copilot area. It literally gives you everything you need. Everything. All right. It's got resources by role. It's got product announcements. It's got links to the sites. It's got all this stuff. So go out there and it will literally give you the success kit. It'll give you a launch day kit. It gives you all of the stuff that you need. It talks about the user journey and getting them to the right place so that they understand. It talks about how to do user enablement, technical readiness. Look at this. Every single one of those links, courses, videos, docs, everything you need to be prepared to roll this out to your organization or to help somebody else roll it out to their organization, just to help you with all of those tools. Look at this, planning and logistics timeline. So if you have a good change management team that can take this in and they can be like, oh, great, gave us a starting point. We didn't have to build this all from scratch. Gives you examples of email journeys and templates so that you can take those in. You can update them. You can make them fit your own branding. You can make them fit your own stuff. Social media journeys so that you're like, wait, I didn't even think about doing that. Yeah, how cool is that, right? Here's a social media journey. Here's what you should do. And here's examples of things that you should send out. And last but not least, skilling experiences so that they can then go to this Copilot Academy and Copilot Lab. It gives them suggested prompts they can save within their prompt list of things they want to do. It tells them where to go to learn more about Copilot. And you can go out and they can just learn more and more and more so that at the end of the day, it's already out there. You don't have to remake all this.
I think the interesting thing to me, Sharon, when you showed me the set of slides that you were going to include, is an assumption on the part of Microsoft that organizations are mature enough in order to follow these slides. I think slide 26, the planning and logistics timeline. I think, and I'm not belittling anyone here, but I looked at this and I thought, oh my God, what organization is just going to be able to do this? And absolutely, there are some, but you need to think about, is this possible in our organization? And what does this translate to for us to be successful based on what we're trying to accomplish? So that in itself is a level of maturity, knowing how to adapt materials like this to meet the needs of your organization. So they are offering a lot of great stuff, and I am totally with you. They should have been doing this decades ago, but they're doing it now. I think everybody on this call understands that sometimes you need to take these things with not a grain of salt, but as starting points. You have to think about the maturity level of your organization, the people in your organization, what kind of workforce do you have, and adapt it. So it's not just like, oh, we download this and ship it off to our users and all of a sudden everything's solved.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And that conversation was fantastic because it makes you realize, like, here's all these assets, but what level are you at? Can you even get value out of them? So here's the links, just so you guys have them. You can just go to adopt.microsoft.com, copilot.cloud.microsoft, or learn.microsoft.com, and then look within here. And there's a ton of Copilot resources that are out there already for you to find. And you can also just do a search for them and probably find them too. But here you have them so that if you need to find them, they're out there. And I think that's all I've got. So if you guys have any questions, I'll pop it to this last slide so that you've got the links and information for going forward for all the information that comes out of these calls. We record them, we post them. All the stuff out here is out on the web in different places. If anybody has any questions, I tried to save just a couple minutes just in case. I saw the chat going crazy, so that's great.
We were posting your links, so that was that. There was some conversation around risk management and the balance between risk and reward, which I think you hit on. There was a good little conversation about that. I think one of the things that Copilot has been showing organizations is that they haven't been managing their content as well as they could. And all it's doing is exposing risks that already existed with search to a large degree. I mean, I know it's not quite that simple, but I think we're seeing organizations make decisions about what to allow Copilot to consume and use in its responses, whereas we haven't seen people managing permissions and search as well.
Yeah. I would love, looking, please, take a look at the management of content competency, because, if you implement that approach in level 300, we talked about splitting out sort of public department areas, internal team areas, which is what we recommend. That's going to help a long way of stopping that oversharing, because it makes it less confusing to the user, but also gives you a really nice information architecture. Which Copilot then can follow, and people only have access to what they should have access to. So that's a really good way of doing it. So have a look at that.
Yeah, I agree. The better your architecture is, the better your governance is, the better your permissions management is, the more you understand. And that very first one I said, if you're using security by obscurity, which basically means you have a link and everybody has access, but you hid it so nobody knows about it, and you hid it from search, so therefore, nobody could find it. Guess what? Copilot will find that. Search may not, but Copilot will.
Well, thanks for this. I think this is a great session, Sharon. Thanks for putting all this together. We hope the rest of you can join us again in a month. I believe it's October 15th. So we will be talking about what do mature organizations do next. And if any of you feel that you're a part of a mature organization and have some tips or tricks that you would like to share, please do. We will see you then, and thanks very much for joining us.
Thanks all. Have lovely weeks.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.